Java?
Yes.
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 Oh, that's his you. That's his your name.
Yeah.
We talked with the Georgie told me yesterday.
Morning.
Good morning.
Welcome
Morning, morning everyone.
Will you make a speech today?
Yeah.
Oh, wonderful.
Morning everyone.
Good
morning.
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 We're gonna have our October 2nd Toastmasters meeting. I hereby introduce the president, Jennifer.
Thank you, Jose.
Yes.
We actually started 3 minutes early today. We used to have 7 a.m. meeting. Then it pushed back to 7:15 because at 7:10 people start showing up. But I'm so happy seeing that today we are 3 minutes early.
Well,
Thank
we
you.
need to update things then.
Yes, we need to update that. Also from the Toastmaster International, they say 1 hour and 30 minutes a bit long. Some clubs they have it in 1 hour. Some clubs have it in 1 hour and 15 minutes. And given that the numbers of our members is enough for 3 to 5 table topic questions. So I think 7:15 is good to go to start at this club. And we have the first 15 minutes to do some networking, saying meet and greet to new members. With that being said, we have one guest today and one long-time member who come back. So maybe let's stand up and introduce yourself again and what bring you here today in this particular day. Any expectation you have for the club or for the meeting? So please welcome.
Hi everybody, my name is Arsh. This is maybe my third meeting.
Yes.
Planning to become a member, so maybe hopefully by next time I'll fill out the paperwork and everything. So this is my hopefully last meeting as a guest. And
Wonderful. Thank you, Ash.
Oh, I couldn't find my coffee mug, so I had to put my coffee in a mason jar.
And let's welcome.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Si Kieng.
Siki.
Yeah, so I just moved in here in December last year, and I had a baby. So I need to find a Toastmaster that happen in early morning or at the weekend, so that my husband can take care of the baby and I come to Toastmaster. So I was searching and I found this club, and here I am.
All right. Thank you, Ash and Sekian.
Yeah.
Sekian. Yeah. Wonderful. So we have two beautiful ladies to join us today, and today the Toastmaster theme is evolution, and I happen to be the invocator. So let's please all rise up and listen to the invocational day. So on the way here, when Tony was driving, I looked up. Tony is my husband, for you who don't know. That is him. So when he was driving, I looked on my phone to find a definition, the best definition for evolution. And it is the transformation or the development period of something who convert from something to something. For example, the evolution of a human being from previously being another form, now into a human being. And in this era where a lot of things evolutionize, we have the phone, we have the laptop, we have all the things that help us to have a good life. And also, a couple of days ago, there's something that resonates with me a lot. It's about a story of the founder, John Paul, of the Paul Mitchell hair product. He became a millionaire with a lot of success in that hair product line that you can see Paul Mitchell in so many luxurious salon or hair space. And he say that he's so successful in life in his business, but there's one thing that he doesn't change, is that he doesn't use email. With that being said, it's a little bit surprised, right? In this era, like a lot of CEOs or business owners, they use email. But Paul said that email make him feel that he's not as productive, and he used to use fax, and right now until today he still use fax as the most efficient way of communicating with his team, with his many sub-brands throughout the world. So that is really fascinated me. And also one of the things that Paul said is that even though there's so many new technology, evolution, things change, but there's one habit that he's not been changed in the last 60 or so years, is that when he get up, instead of wrapping the phone to check the emails and update from all the people in his team, he have 5 minutes just to stay still, having a deep breath, being present, and appreciate the things that he have in life. And in the last recent days, I inhabit that habit, and I feel much better starting the day. So for the evolution theme of today, I encourage you to appreciate the evolutions that we have in our life. At the same time, the best evolution also is how to maintain the calmness within you, because with the calmness, with the readiness, that is the best way that we can welcome on the evolution. Thank you, everyone. And now you can sit down. Today we have a veteran member. She's been the area director, she's been the president, she's been very active with our district activities too. And what I love about this lady is she's very intellectual. She makes so many speeches that wow me with the knowledge, with the experience she shared. And I'm so happy today that she chose the theme evolution, and I trust that she will have many new knowledge or expertise or experience to share with us. So please welcome Georgie.
Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
Let's start off with making sure that we have all our rows filled. I see that we have our 3 speakers here today. Just to let everyone know, I kind of goofed up a bit on the form that I printed out because I did it a little early. So our second speaker today is going to be Dan. And our third speaker is Saiking. Am I saying that right? And her title, How to Be Successful, should actually be moved down a couple of lines. But anyway, it's not a big thing. The main thing we're going to work on right now is trying to fill all our different duty master roles. To start with, we already have our video master obviously handled, and I suppose, Jose, since you set it up, are you considered the video master today? Or?
Yes, I'll be a video master, and whoever wants to do the other roles, I'll just pass on the cards. Who would like to be
I can be the eye counter.
Okay, great.
And just in case anyone's wondering about the second camera here, while it is recording, I'll delete everybody else's speeches. This was just because somebody from my home club asked if they could see what I was going to present today, which admittedly was mostly going to be covering club officer roles, and now it's going to be covering pathways mostly instead, so please forgive me if it goes a little bit awkwardly.
So, Jose, can you explain the video master role and any issues for the video master?
I will be the video master for today, and the video is currently recording. It will download after this meeting into YouTube. If you don't want to be part of that video, I can edit out, or I can simply turn it away.
Yes, just let him know.
Yes.
Okay, great.
Let me know.
So you guys sit here?
So who else is the other roles? Is
The timer.
our counter timer? Who would like to be timer? Okay.
Sure. Meanwhile, maybe our awe counter can tell us about the awe counter role.
Hello everyone. Today I will be the eye counter who will track on the filler noises that you might make when you have the opportunity to stand up and speak. Some filler words can be repeated words. So at the end of meeting I will make the report, and as a tradition of speaker Toastmaster, we have a fine for whoever make the filler words. So each filler word you make, we will count toward 5 cents, and the maximum is 50 cents. So the guests you are you don't have to pay if you are still guests. But if you are members, so please ready for some coins in case you feel that you have some filler words to make during the speech. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Tony, you're the timer. Can
Yeah.
you give us a brief description?
So as a timer, I will let people know where they are at in the time that they are allowed to have. So for the table topics, you're gonna have 2 minutes. Evaluation, I have 3 minutes. And for the speeches, you're gonna have 5 to 7 minutes usually. But if you have any special requests, please let me know. Also, you will be informed by the color of the card. With the green, you have 2 minutes left. So the table topic will start with green. The yellow means you have 1 minute left. And for the red, you have the time is up. And after 30 seconds of grace, the flash is red and sounds, and everybody will clap and let you know that you should sit down. Thank you very much.
Okay. And do you have the cards over there? The timing cards?
The flag.
Okay, great. Those are useful.
Yeah.
Does anybody want to be a word master for today? Thoughts on being word master? You, Huaming, you want to be our word master for today?
Yeah, I'll come up with a word.
Great. We go ahead and write it up, and then I'll look around for a grammarian. Does anyone want to be a grammarian today? No grammarians?
I can be grammarian.
Okay, grammarian.
I will be grammarian for today. I will look for everybody's speeches and listen and see if there's any inconsistencies in our grammar in terms of tense, plurality, and anything in your sentence structure that needs to be revised, repetition, all those items, and then I'll give advice at the end of the meeting in regards to how everybody did.
Okay, thank you. Alright, remaining role is ballot counter, and I can actually do that myself. 'Cause I feel like otherwise I'm getting lazy if I only just do one role, considering everyone else is doing such a good job. So I'll be ballot counter, I'll be sitting over here. So at the end of the speeches, at the bottom of the ballot you've been given, there's a best and most improved speaker, table topics, and evaluator. So if you just pass it along over to me, I will have everything totaled up for the Toastmaster, the president at the end of the meeting. Now, I just want to confirm that we do have our general evaluator, Haroon, and that our first evaluator, Tony, is going to evaluate our first speaker, Huaming, right?
Yeah.
Okay. We have our second evaluator, Jose, going to be evaluating Dan. Okay.
And then will be 7 to 9 minutes, right?
There's more material in 2007 to 9, so I'm going to just rely on Tony's timer to keep track of
Okay.
how long it's been, and whatever he'll finish today, I'll
Oh,
cover
okay.
some other
Do
week.
you want him to do 7 and 9 then?
Let's do.
Okay, great. All right, and our last speaker, King, will be evaluated by Haroon. All right. And with that, we will then return to our last duty master role, which is word master from Huaming.
Miss Toastmaster, fellow Toastmaster, most welcome guest. The word today is excogicate. Let me
You
say it
picked
again.
a real doozy, didn't you?
Yes.
Where do you find these things?
Just look
Is
it
this
up.
English? Are you sure?
It's
The
Korean.
word,
I mean,
the word
wonder.
is excogitate. It's like extra cogitation. It's really serious, you know.
And
to
cogitation
conceive,
is.
To think. Cogitate is to use your cognition.
Okay.
So to consider serious. So the way you use the word is he must first think and cogitate his matter, choose his words before he come out and explain his issues. So use the word, try your best, think carefully, and excogitate. 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 4 syllables. It's not that odd. And make sure you use the word, Miss Toastmaster.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Wendy.
I can tell you exconjugated quite a bit to come up with that word, and I always love learning more English. It's not like I don't have too much already to worry about. Thank you so much. And with that, we're now going to transition to one of the funner parts of the meeting, which is our formalized presentations. And you're going to start today with our first talk from Wan Ming, who is going to be giving a speech today. The title of which is Two Aspects of Jack Ma's View of Being an Entrepreneur. It's 5 to 7 minutes long, and with that, I welcome Wan Ming. Thank you.
Thank you. So to start, I just want to verify whether you know who Jack Ma is.
Yeah.
So Jack Ma started a company called Alibaba 20 years ago. And the company is now worth over $250 billion with revenue over $56 billion every year, and has over 100,000+ employees. He started the company with nothing in China in 1999 in his one-bedroom apartment with 17 people. Now, he no longer is with the company, apparently, and he has gone on other ventures, like making a short film on a kung fu movie for 20 minutes. Kung fu movie, it's an interesting movie. He started a college or school for entrepreneurs several years ago. And earlier this year, he gave a speech at lunch to some of those entrepreneurs. And in the transcript that I read, I saw a number of things. But given the time, I'm going to try to talk about two aspects of what I read and I'd like to share with you. You might already know this, but certainly something that I can convey, because I found that I learned something in that. So an entrepreneur is involved in starting a company. Now, a company could end up to be a small business. It could be a restaurant, could be a service that someone offers to other people, and you have customer come in every day, they pay $10 or whatever it is, small business. It could be a sort of medium-sized business in terms of trading. It's like a shop that you buy stuff, clothing, products from whatever, put it in the store, other people come in, and you run the business of selling all those products, and this goes on forever. It could be that type of business. Or when we talk about being an entrepreneur, especially in the Bay Area and other parts of the world, we talk about a scalable business. A company that can start with maybe 1 or 2 people and grows within 5 years, 10 years, 20 years to 100,000+ people with revenues over $50 billion. So that's what Jack Ma is focused on, is helping people to grow, to become an entrepreneur that can grow a scalable business. So that's one aspect I see, is because I have always been confused of when you start a company, do you end up to be a small one or a big one? So the scale is what we're talking about, is being an entrepreneur, especially in the Silicon Valley and other area, is to be able to build a scalable business that can grow. Another aspect that's very important, at least I did not quite understand that until I read this, is the idea that being an entrepreneur is not necessarily about the money that you're gonna make. It's not necessarily about the market that you're going after or the products that you're gonna produce or the technology that's involved. It is most importantly about people. People is the key, because people are the ones that are going to pay you money for whatever products and services that you're going to make. People are the key in the company who are going to make the product, who's going to sell the product, who's going to service the product. Those are the employees, the management of the company, and they are key. And then people are the ones that are going to give you money to start a company, to invest in you. People are it's not machines that you're going to work with necessarily. People are the ones that are going to partner with you, to work with you together, a separate company consisting of people working with your company to push out your product and services to work with other people. So it's primarily about people. And when someone wants to start a scalable business, it's almost like King Arthur. When he first started, he went to this piece of rock and there's a sword there, he pull out the sword, that becomes his mission to change England, so bring justice to England. But he by himself is not enough to make that happen. He had to get his round table of knights together to make it happen. And then they have to work together to actually make his mission of just bringing justice to England. And starting a business is like that, is how do you get people together? How do you define so they end up with three things: value, culture, and system, dealing with the people. So that's why I read. Value is what customer would pay for and what employees would do, or what kind of reward employee would get in order for them to do the work, is what the reward that the investor would get when they invest in you. And it defines the priorities of what's important. Culture is how people work together in the company. In the example of Jeff Bezos, when he started Amazon, he wanted the company to be really cheap in terms of using resources, in terms of really conserve and not use too much, and be inventive. So he set up the culture where he built a table for himself out of a wooden door. And then he demonstrated that that should be the culture for the company, is that you use what you have and then you make the best out of it. And then you grow the company that way. And Amazon grew a lot based on that type of culture. And then the third thing is systems. And that's how the people are coordinated to make the company happen. Who is going to sell? How are you going to bring in the business? Who is going to make the product to service that business? And so on. And that requires a lot of thinking, a lot of thought, a lot of learning that the entrepreneur has to spend time on. In fact, it's not a day, it's not a week, it's years, it's continual learning to make that happen. So that's what I read. And so to conclude, to summarize, at least from what I read from Jack Ma's conveyed, is the idea of being an entrepreneur, most valuable version is to be able for someone to build a scalable business. It's not easy to do. In order to do that, you need to be able to work with people and make that happen. Ms. Toastmaster.
Please take a minute to write on the ballots some feedback for our first speaker. to our second speaker. Hopefully everything's all set up.
That was going to be my hope as well.
We'll just
I'll find out in
confirm
a
it,
minute.
and then I will introduce you.
Hang on, let me just.
So you guys just start thinking about wrapping up while we get a few things set up here. Ignore the man working.
Pretend I'm behind a curtain.
Do you want to put it on the table? Or?
No, probably. Have some vacuum mounted on, but.
Okay. And with that, let me introduce Dan Mergat, our wonderful area supervisor. Is that the correct
Director.
Director. I can never keep track of the terms. Who will be talking to us about pathways. Please help us welcome Dan.
I was stunned. I came here last week to remind the members of this club to renew, because with less than a week left before the soft deadline, nobody had renewed their membership in this club. But when I came here, I found out that at least half the reason for that was because none of the club officers even knew how to renew anybody. And furthermore, the people I talked to had to think for a while to even remember their password on the Toastmasters.org website. What this told me is that A, there was some fundamental knowledge missing, and that B, if they didn't even know their password, then probably very few other people did, which meant that people weren't even signing up for Pathways, they weren't recording their speeches, which all helped indicate why this club appeared not to be doing anything if you took a look at its performance on the Distinguished Club page. So I guess cogitated about that for a minute. I figured I should put together a presentation to try to fill in some of the gaps of knowledge, because they weren't even covering this in club officer training. They assumed that these were things that everybody knew and that it was being passed down just by word of mouth. I found out at the last minute that I'll be doing the club officer talk later on, so I'll jump ahead to the Pathways talk. I hope to get to the other stuff later on, but for today, I'm just going to talk about Pathways. So let me skip forward some slides. Thank you. The traditional route in Toastmasters was something called Competent Communicator, which was a booklet containing 10 speeches that people would give over the course of your Toastmaster experience. Once you finished that, you would go on to various advanced manuals, and when you finished up those, you would be awarded the title of a Distinguished Toastmaster, DTM, which you were talking about a little bit earlier. About two or so years ago, they replaced the Competent Communicator manual with something called Pathways, which was designed to give people more choices. Instead of just having one fixed schedule of 10 speeches, you now had, you now had 10 different paths that you could go down, and they recently added an 11th, one for humorous speeches. The way each path works is that each path has 14 speech projects divided into 5 levels. And who here is on Pathways? Have you signed up on the Toastmasters.org website? Okay, awesome. I noticed most people hadn't. Who here is on Competent Communicator? And who here doesn't know? Because I saw only about half the people in this room raise their hand for either of those questions. I'm going to guide you through a process of how to sign up on the Toastmasters.org website in a minute. But before that, if you want to know about the available paths, The 11 paths have names, but the names are not very descriptive. For example, I'm on presentation mastery. That doesn't tell you too much. It has one useful word, presentation, and another word, mastery. That doesn't tell you anything. The same is true of all the other paths. Dynamic leadership. Leadership says something, dynamic does not. So if you want to really know what is involved with a path, I would recommend one of these two course catalogs. There's an excellent PDF on the d57tm.org website. I can email those out later on, but if you don't have time to write that whole thing down, just remember d57.org. This pointer doesn't work very well. d57.org, and you can find it after a little bit of exploring through the menus. Also, our own District 101 has its own course catalog of all the speech projects in the various paths at d101tm.org/pathways. That's perhaps an easier URL to remember. Just scroll down to the bottom of the screen because they're all down at the bottom. They're on a pull-down menu format. But just to give you an idea of the typical path, let me show you presentation mastery. I don't know if you can read this from where you are. As I mentioned before, the speech projects are broken down into 5 paths. They tend to get more difficult as they go along. The first path is the same for all, the first 4 speech projects are the same for all 11 paths. You start off with an icebreaker speech, 4 to 6 minute speech where you tell something about yourself. Evaluation and feedback, where you'll give one speech, get feedback, and then give another speech, possibly the same one, in which you incorporate the feedback. And researching and presenting, where you do some research for your speech and then give a speech on the subject you researched. As you can see, these are fairly general. They're just guidelines. They don't restrict you too much, but they give a focus for your speeches rather than just, having to make something up on the spot. After that, the speeches tend to get more focused on whatever it is that you're trying to exercise, whether it be your presentation abilities or leadership skills or whatnot. Does anybody have any questions before I continue? Nope? Excellent. The first step on your Pathways experience is to choose a path. The 2 course catalogs that I mentioned, I think, are the best option to use if you haven't selected one yet. But let's assume that you've selected a path and you say, I'm interested in, let's say, team collaboration. In that case, your first step is go to the Toastmasters.org website. If you don't remember your password, you can recover it. But you will click on the Pathways menu, choose the path, and that'll take you to a place where you can select your path if you've not done so yet. They also offer an optional survey where they'll ask you various questions about what your goals are, what you want to achieve from Toastmasters. If the course catalogs that I showed you earlier are not enough to let you know which path you want, then the survey is an excellent starting point. And by the way, I was asked about this when I showed someone this website and they didn't see this menu bar. If you have a smaller if you have a smaller browser window, there will be a hamburger icon in the upper left-hand corner, 3 bars, which you can use to select from the menu over here. Once you've selected a path, you'll mostly go to the Toastmasters.org website when you give speeches. And in order to prepare for your speech and to let Toastmasters know that you gave the speech, you would go over to what's called Basecamp. This is where you'll be spending 99% of your time on the website after you've selected the path. To get there, Toastmasters.org, Pathways menu item, go to Basecamp. No big mysteries there. Once you hit Basecamp, before a speech, you should go over to Basecamp, find the path that you're on. This is my path over here, Presentation Mastery. Click Open Curriculum. That is going to take you to a list of the levels in your path. Find the level you're currently on. I'm currently at level 3. Click that, and now you'll see the speech projects that are available within your level and your path. Before you give a speech, go down this list. Choose one. There's lots of options available, especially after level 2. Especially when you consider how many elective projects there are. You don't have to give all of these speeches in order to complete a level. For level 3, which I'm on right now, there's 1 required speech and 2 electives where I can choose any 2 of these and give a speech on them. Once you click on Activate and Launch, it'll give you a window with a set of directions explaining what the goals are of the speech, giving some guides to help you in preparing the speech. Again, this is just to help you achieve your speech goals, give a little focus, help you prepare speeches that will satisfy your educational goals. So you get the instructions here, although admittedly sometimes you'll just use the 1-paragraph instructions from the course catalog. You can either read them in depth or you can skim them if you feel that you don't really need all the information. But there is one thing that you definitely need to do. And that's this survey. This is one of the quirks of the Pathways program, which I'm not overly fond of. But in order for Toastmasters International to know that you gave the speech, they require you to take this quick, I believe it was 10 question, what? Actually, no, 5-question survey assessing your skills before the speech. And then after the speech, there's another survey, assess your skills after. Once you've filled out those 2 surveys, Toastmasters International will record that you gave the speech. And on the company on the Toastmasters.org website, there are pages that say how many members have progressed through the various speech levels. So your club will get credit that other people will be able to see for completing these speech projects, and more importantly, the levels. Once you've finished the speeches in the level, and there aren't many, most levels have just 3 projects, so if you're giving speeches on a regular basis, you'll finish each level fairly quickly. But after you've finished all the speech projects in the level, a button will appear next to level completion. Click on that and notify your quote-unquote Basecamp manager to let them know that you finished that level and that they should approve you finishing that level. Giving you a moment to take notes there. I just mentioned the Basecamp manager. What the heck is a Basecamp manager? A Basecamp manager, in brief, is the VPE, president, or secretary of your club. In this case, we would have at least one Basecamp manager here. Jennifer is the VPE or secretary president? Awesome. In that case, we have 2 Basecamp managers today. Have you ever logged on to the Pathways website and taken a look at your Basecamp manager?
No, I haven't.
Excellent. Well, not excellent. Actually, lousy, but excellent in the sense that you'll be learning something today. Usually the VPE is the primary Basecamp manager, but people can't approve their own level completion because they want to make sure that somebody isn't just saying, yeah, finish that, finish that, finish that, finish that, without actually doing the speeches. As a Basecamp manager, you automatically have access to this button over here, log in as a Basecamp manager. Unfortunately, I can't tell you exactly how to get there because I'm no longer the VPE of my club, and they've changed the menus a little bit since I was the base camp manager. But based on what I found online, I think the current method is go to Toastmasters.org. Definitely click on Pathways. Everything is under Pathways. And I believe then Start Page will take you to this screen over here. If it doesn't, then just hunt around a little bit. I'm sure before long you'll find this button that says Log in as Basecamp Manager. Once you're there, you'll see something that looks like this. You can mostly ignore this button. This one's kind of interesting, but this is the important one over here, pending requests. After someone has finished their level and said that they want to advance to the next level, their name will appear once you click on pending requests. And all you have to do is click a check mark next to them and you're done. At that point, the person is going to get access to their next level and they can progress from level 1 to 2, 3, 4, 5. And once they finish level 5, they can choose another path, start over. 2 paths and a few auxiliary projects later, the person will be awarded the badge of TTM, Distinguished Toastmaster.
Okay, maybe we should start finishing.
Yep. Very well timed. Are there any questions? Nope. In that case, I'd like to go over the club officer tasks a little bit later on in some other session. But for now, we're done. I hope to see all of you who are not currently on Pathways look over the paths on one of the course catalogs and sign up as soon as you can. Thank you.
Lots of great information. If everyone can exconjugate a bit and give Dan some feedback on our forms. And once you have done that, we're going to be sending around these envelopes so that we can collect the information on that everyone has collected for people and give it to the appropriate person somehow. Okay. We can just send it over that way. Take about a minute to get some feedback on Dan's speech.
Toss that probably up on that sitting there. I think everyone's kind of wrapping up everything, maybe? And with that, let's wrap everything up. And I would like to introduce our second speaker, King, who's going to be doing project number 3, Make Them Laugh, for 5 to 7 minutes long. The title of her speech is How to Be Successful. So if we have our videos all set up, everything's ready to go, let's welcome King.
Today, I'm going to talk about the weirdest man on earth that I married. Dear fellow Toastmaster and special guests, have you ever made a New Year resolution, committed to doing it 100% and failed miserably? Come on, I know you have. Yes. My husband has tried different approaches throughout the year to get up early in the morning with various degrees of success. Sorry. About a decade ago, my husband read something like this: if you want to be successful, you need to get up early in the morning. He took that advice seriously because he really wanted to be successful. And he made a commitment to get up early from that day onward. His success was important to me too. When I was a young woman, I always wanted a successful man. I couldn't find a man who was already successful, but my husband wanted to be successful, so I decided I will take what I can get. He has tried different approaches and with various degrees of success. For example, method number 1, he bought an alarm clock, set multiple alarms, one after another. Yeah, it worked well at first. Then he started doing what most of us would do. He hit the snooze button and went back to sleep. Am I right? Method number 2. This time he would place an alarm clock far away from his bed so that he need to get up to turn it off. Genius. This also worked for a while, but he didn't like it because he need to wake up to turn it off. Several months later, this genius discovered his third method. He found a magic tool, a new design from MIT Labs. It is a running alarm clock. Picture an alarm clock with 2 wheels. It can jump, scream, and make loud noises. So it works like this. Before you go to bed, you put it on your bed or on a table next to you. So when the alarm rings, it jumps out of the bed, starts screaming and running. So you need to run after it to speak it off. Yeah, it worked well at first, but eventually, just like before, he would run after it to turn it off and went back to sleep. Yeah, he has been working so hard to force himself to get up early in the morning, but he has never been successful. Now, I'm not sure whether he is a fake genius or just weird. One night, several months ago, he taps on my shoulder and said, "Hi honey, I think I found an alarm clock that works for me." He called it the Human Artificial Intelligent Alarm Clock. I call it our first baby, Davy. Usually she wakes up at 5 a.m. every day. And this alarm clock can adjust her own volume. Volume 1, la la la, ba ba ba. Volume 2, ah! No, you cannot switch the button off and went back to sleep. My husband should be very successful soon. All in all, if you have a goal and it doesn't work out, get creative and be open to try different approaches. And be weird like my husband. By the way, we do realize that our daughter Devi will grow older and she might not wake up early anymore. So I guess I need to keep having babies so that we will be always successful. I am sure one day you will find a solution for your goal, and sometimes the right solution may even find you. Back to you, Thomas.
Thank you very much. All right, now everyone can please give some feedback on that wonderful speech we just heard. Give you guys a minute. Think of some nice, clever things to say, since you heard so many clever jokes. And also, I'm going to pass around the feedback envelope for our second speaker. wrapping things up. Okay, and with that, I will now turn over to one of the more challenging areas for some people, which is our evaluations. It's nice when we give our speeches, but it's even better to get feedback immediately on these speeches. With that, I'd like to introduce today's general evaluator, Harun. All right. Thank you, Harun.
Morning, everybody.
Morning.
Morning.
So this is the general evaluation section of the speech, and I'd now like to call upon the evaluators. And our first evaluator is Tony, who will be evaluating Wai Ming's speech on Jack Ma.
Thank you. This is my so my name is Tony, and this is my honor to evaluate Wai Ming. Because so deep inside of me, I really like the way that you doing a job, and also the way that you deliver a speech. It's very calm. So first of all, this is a plus for you is that you always remain really calm during the speech, and the people can follow the pace and follow what you say very clearly. The second thing is also the way that you understand the feeling of the audience by starting a speech with a story about Jack Ma to ensure that everybody know who he is, which is good. And also, there's something that you can improve. The first one is the clear, how to say, sections in your speech. So at first, I imagined that you have 3 sections, but then come up with like you have a small conclusion in between about the value, the culture, the system of being an entrepreneur, and then jump into Jeff Bezos, how to build. So you just talk about the story of building a table and talk about his frugality to building a business culture. So that might make a little bit confused in the people when they're trying to link the different like details during a speech, and also for those maybe they don't know Jeff Bezos. But the last thing that I think is also the good way for you to wrap it up is also the tone of your speech, and when you switch between different parts, you have a pause, and also your vocal varieties kind of fits to the type of speaking. But if we ask you if you can have the vocal variety, if you not giving a kind of narrative speech, but because entrepreneur is a very enthusiastic topic, right? So let's add a little bit energy in there to make sure that you really show the spirit of entrepreneur. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Tony. Our next evaluator is Jose, who will be evaluating Dan's speech.
First of all, I would like to thank Dan for letting us know a lot of the ins and outs of pathways. Actually, I didn't know a lot of it. And some of the parts of your presentation had very key points that I will mention those key points. And there's also a few things that I saw that was a lot of it was very in the summary though. I want to start off with I did get it all. I did get the message that you were giving as far as how to go through it. There's a little bit in terms of my feedback for you is it was more on its impact for me and what I felt afterwards and how clear, it wasn't convincing. I think the major point was if it was clear and convincing. So I think a lot of us, and I think there's a little bit of, I think the major goal of the speech would be to convince people to actually do it. There's a little, I would say, maybe a few more parts in terms of the benefits of doing pathways. Maybe a little bit of personal experience, or what it actually means to actually go through the different skills and what it actually does for you. That maybe a little bit of that, and a little bit about as far as being clear. My personal experience with pathways was hard to find the link. That was the key, and I think the presentation had the link list. And I would say maybe to zoom in to that part of the link, that maybe there's a key link that has to be, everybody has to be aware of. I think if you spend a little bit more time on that I know when I went through pathways, that was the one. That was the one that really got me. And there's also there's also a difficulty in terms of navigation. After you get in, there's a problem about what do I do next. Getting in and what do I do next is always a problem. Maybe a little bit of empathy to that. I think the presentation was very good in that sense, but maybe a zoom in of that. Those two things, I think. And then, as I said before, a little bit about convincing, maybe a little bit more convincing, and the highlight of what it actually means to actually get those skills. I don't know. I understand that I would like to get those skills, but maybe a little bit of emphasis is that, and at the end, a summary, a highlight summary. In terms of I think those the two key points for me. The two key points as far as, don't forget, when you get into pathways, do those steps. Maybe a few words on those steps, and then it's very, very important because of that, and then end it that way. I think that, although like overall I got it though. It's very, very useful and very, very helpful. Okay.
Thank you. Okay. So, I will be evaluating. I'm sorry, Seeking.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Seeking. I apologize for Seeking. Thank you so much for that very funny story and speech about how your husband was trying to wake up and how to be successful. When you first started and I looked at the speech title, I was intrigued. I couldn't figure out how to be successful. I thought you were going to talk about a generic topic about being successful. But really the main point of your speech, which I think you wrote that really well, was about how to set goals and how to go about achieving them. And I think that while using the title to hook them up was really good, and the way you transitioned from taking that very generic topic and to sort of bringing that down and tying that at the end of the speech about how to really set goals and set about achieving them was really well done. Thank you. And that kind of fed into it. In each of your stories about how your husband was trying to be creative and trying to figure out how to solve that particular problem. What the one thing that I did especially like about your speech was that how circumstances can also help you solve your problems, even though you're trying to make efforts, and then you can set about creating them. And I think that there was an underlying theme there that emphasized that sometimes even though you need to make efforts into how to achieve your goals, but you also need to sort of let it be a little bit and let things happen to you. So I don't know if that was the intent of your speech, but that's one of the things that I took away from from your topic. Now, I do want to emphasize that there were some flaws that I think would have actually made the speech a little better. I did feel that you were kind of flying through your stories and your jokes kind of really fast. And I think that the use of pauses might actually help you. I think you were animated because obviously, your husband's trying to wake up early, multiple alarms, and I'm sure you have a somewhat negative emotional response to it. I know my wife does because I have the same issues that she has. And why are you using multiple alarms? And why can't you just wake up? So I'm sure that you might have some kind of reaction to it, but having a kind of a pause to it and making it sort of pacing yourself might actually make the impacts of your stories and your jokes a little bit more impactful. You don't have to make it about 5 minutes. I think the speech deserves to be about 7 minutes or so. So I mean, use that time if you have a time allotted to it. Make it just use it. And that was about it for me. Thank you very much.
Now for some of the fun parts of the meeting, which is our table topics, in which people now are on the spot to answer a question. And with that, I'd like to welcome our table topics master today, Jose. Oh, and don't forget, at the bottom of your ballots, vote for best or most improved speaker and evaluator. And now we're going to do our table topics. Thank you.
Our topic for today is evolution, and evolution is a gradual change towards what? Right? It's towards something that is simple to something that's complex. So that's what's going on around us. So our table topics is going to be several topics in that regard for people to share what they think has been changing around them. This is to bring awareness as far as what's going on around it. And I would like to have your perspective on this. So I would give you a topic and I would like to have volunteers for it. And if there's something that rings with you, a topic of change that you think is very significant, you've experienced it, you have a very, very strong opinion about it, I would like you to raise your hand. So think of it in terms of how it was before, how it is now, what do you think it's going to be in the future, if it's good or bad. So the first topic will be, let me see now, there's several, so I'm flexible with it, but people's eating patterns, people's choice of how things have changed as far as your community, as far as restaurants, as far as because of the changes within the internet, how technology is developed, information is spread about. Anybody has anything with that? I'd like to do that. Yes, eating patterns. Yes. Yes.
Thank you,
Yes.
Jose. Good morning, everyone. Recently, I'm kind of addicted to a YouTuber. Her name is Lee Queasy. You can search her up on YouTube. And this lady is living in the forest. She used to live in the city with a normal city girl life in China. But once the grandma have been sick, so she go back to the hometown and take care of the mom. And what she does is, for example, if she needs to have a new dress, she'll go to the forest and pick up the grapes and dye the cloth of white color into purple to make a dress. If she wants to make apricot jam, she will go into the forest, pick up the apricot, make it at home, and it become a delicious jam. If she wants to make a delicious meal, she would go into the forest, cut the bamboo, cut it and marinate it, or do everything. It's so many delicious dishes, and it's reflect on me how I treat my normal meals daily. I might go to Costco, I would buy a bag of wonton, I will microwave it, and after 3 minutes, I will have a meal. Where this lady, she can spend a lot of time going to the forest, picking the mushroom, the bamboo, the vegetable, and make it into delicious meal. And it's not only about the nutrition, it's about the calmness, the delightfulness, the other consideration that she considered to put the good meal into every single daily activities for herself and for her grandma to take good care of her. And in the video, as you see the happiness that the grandma be with her, and the sickness is no longer be there. So evolution is about everything is so fast, so easy and convenient. At the same time, I value so much the traditional way of preparing the meal and be happy with it. Thank you, Jose. Thank you.
That's the effect of YouTube. People are more healthy, right? You kind of picked up that, and there's more skills, right? You learn to actually cook and prepare foods in certain ways that you'd never learned, right? So the next topic is, maybe you want to pick your topic, Arsh? Anything that stands out for you as far as?
Why don't you give her a few to choose from?
Yeah. Okay. How about leisure or vacations?
How it's evolutionized?
Yes.
Oh, sure.
You sure? Good. Okay.
I think leisure and vacations have definitely evolutionized in the past 5 years, even with social media booming, and also with travel and airfare being more affordable. So now that tickets are cheaper, and we have this inspiration all around us of these vacations that we want to take, and all these new exotic locations that are trendy. For instance, Bali or Thailand or I don't know, Bora Bora. Now we see these that we weren't aware of before, and through our social media, we're kind of keeping track. I know a lot of people that are in my network, they have certain pages that they follow. It could be on Instagram, Pinterest, or any other types of boards, and people are kind of adding their vacation photos or following vacation photos. And through affordable travel, with all these airlines competing with each other, and travel being way more affordable than ever, all this is able to happen. So vacations that we weren't looking into before, didn't think that it would be possible, now it's possible. Because before, even hotels are very expensive, and that was the only option that we had when we traveled, is to stay in a hotel. And now we have Airbnb, and this makes travel a lot easier too. So we have Airbnbs and even hostels. So I actually traveled last year in October, did a solo trip for 1 month in Europe. And before, that might have been intimidating because I wouldn't have had these people with these experiences on platforms like YouTube, which I did my research to see where I wanted to go, what I wanted to see when I traveled, people's experiences when they went there, and all this media, that these online platforms kind of help you to travel where you want and really know exactly how to prepare for it. And the cheaper airfare and the Airbnbs and hostels allows us to really budget for it and then find out how we're going to go there and how we're going to be able to budget it and actually make it happen. So it's not just a dream, it's reality for us now.
Maybe one last one?
One last one.
Yeah.
Okay. So my next topic is on, there's several, but sports and entertainment. I'm gonna pick sports or entertainment.
Oh, me?
Yeah.
Okay.
I like it. Okay. Okay.
Thank you very much. Sport and entertainment, man, that questions make me acquisitive because I'm not a big fan of sport. Actually, my wife knows that. Like, basically, I just prefer to stay at home, look at the screen, and think about, okay, what next I'm gonna put in there, what I'm gonna write, what I'm gonna say in front of the laptop screen. But yes, I have to acknowledge that sport and entertainment really changed the way that people enjoy that industry. So for example, yesterday I went out to AMC with my wife to watch a movie called Downton Abbey. And I realized that there's not so many people in the theater. And the only people there is like the people like more than 55 years old and up. So we are like the youngest people in the theater in that lunchtime. And I think a lot of people might enjoy that the movie at home by going on on Netflix, by buying some stuff on YouTube. So it's more affordable and it's more flexible to enjoy it. The second thing about the sport that I can see that the rise of e-sport, we so-called e-sport, it's a sport that people participate in the game and they fight with each other on a computer game like League of Legends and FIFA and all kind of stuff. Before, when we talk about sport, there's only thing that we care about is like soccer, football, things. So it's changing, and yeah, that's what I want to say. And people have more choice to do in free time. Thank you very much.
And with that, our general evaluator
Yeah.
could take over.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Save one.
Yeah, save one still.
Long trip, so.
Yeah, you're right.
Thank you, Tony. And now we come to the part where we do a general evaluation of the meeting. I think
But
this,
sorry, one interruption. You could just fill out your ballots
Right.
and then send them over to me. I'd appreciate it. Thank you. Meanwhile, sorry to interrupt.
lost my train of thought there.
Evaluate meeting.
Okay.
And duty master.
George. Okay. So as general evaluator, my role is to do the general evaluation of the meeting. And now I'm going to call upon the duty masters to tell us what their how we did. So as timer, Tony, can you tell us what the timer?
So for the speaker, Wai Ming, he performed his speech in 8 minutes 11 seconds. Then it's 14 minutes 23 seconds. Second, she performed in 5 minutes 4 seconds, and we prefer to be longer, right? For the evaluation, me is 2 minutes 29 seconds. Jose 3 minutes. Harun nearly 3 minutes. And for the table topic, Jennifer in 2 minutes and 9 seconds. Ours is 1 minute and 46 seconds. And me myself, I didn't drag it. So yeah.
Okay. And next, I'd like to call on the grammarian, Jose.
For the Gorgomamer report, pretty much everybody had expressed their thoughts in a very cohesive manner. There's a little bit in terms of organization and discontinuity. I would say for Wyoming, people are and it is not the machine, so there was a discontinuity in thought. So I would say compose your thought and then practice on making a continuous sentence in regards to that. As far as seeking, there's a little bit of that also as far as continuing expressing your thought forms, but there's a few words, choice of words. I think you said speak it off instead of turn it off. I think when the alarm, and that's basically it. There's a little bit of actually introducing grammar words within your speech in terms of practice, right? And then you should be able to get it. And so everybody else did very well. And that's my part. Thank you.
I know I'm guilty of this about these pauses too, but I've had a little trouble excogitating my thought before I speak. So now I'd like to call on the word master. Give us.
Mr. General Evaluator, it is very difficult to excogitate the word excogitate and be able to use it while you speak it. So the folks who have used the word included Georgie, Tony, Harun, and I guess I just used it myself. Everyone else did not use the word. Mr. General Evaluator.
Thank you. call in the joke master. Do we have a joke master?
And give you a joke.
Oh, good.
So a fly is flying around, is buzzing around. It feels a bug on its back. So you say, "Hey bug, on my back. Hey bug on my back. Are you a mite?" The fly asks. "I might be." Goes the bite. "That's the worst pun I've heard," said the fly. "What do you expect? I just came up with it on the fly."
That's actually pretty good.
You're gonna steal that one, huh?
Yes. I'm going to steal that. So our out-counter,
Yeah, it's me.
Jennifer.
I would like to give the report for each and every one of us to use the words today. The most mistakes, the most filler words that we make is and the second is so, and that's some repeated words. In particular, Tony, you made 3 so, 7 and you have the tendency to repeat is also 3 times. Seeking, you have 7 and 4 so. Jose, you have 6 and 2 you so, and you have the tendency to repeat the word I think or maybe. Dan, you have 4 2 so. Harun, 2 so, 2 Georgie, I didn't notice anything. Maybe I will notice better next time. You must have 1 or 2.
Sure.
Ash, you have 5 and 1 so. And Wyoming, you have 6 and 2 so. Okay, that's it. Thank you.
Now I'd like to evaluate myself, the Toastmaster, and the Duty Masters. I think this was a really good meeting. We had a full roster of speakers. And thank you, Dan, for sort of telling us how the whole Pathways website works. And the evaluations were really insightful. At least I don't know about myself, but Jose and Tony were really good evaluations. So thank you very much. And I'd like to go to our president.
Thank you. How do you feel right now? So let's first hear from the guests. What do you feel today, and what is that final step before you register become a member? Ash.
I think it was a good meeting. The speeches were really good. I think in the past I've seen 2 people that have had speeches, so this was 3, so that was great to see. And I like how there's a topic of evolution and it kind of follows throughout the whole day. It's kind of nice, and hopefully I'll be a member by next meeting. So I'll talk to you after.
Okay, thank you, Ash. Thank you very much. And Sia King, how do you feel after a while being back?
Okay, thanks for allowing me to give the speech today. I can see the enthusiastic in the Toastmaster member, because like many people take multiple roles. And I had a great time today. Thank you.
Yeah. Sia King, so at the Toastmaster, we have humorous speech contest. Do we have one coming? Do you have an idea for that?
Yeah.
I think we do have.
Second.
So, would you
Cositate.
excited to
I forget.
join?
wasn't- Did you have a club contest for humorous speech?
So we at the district level we have
At the
one
district
activity.
level, we do at the Fall Fusion event.
Yes.
The reason I
And-
asked was because most clubs were sending representatives from their clubs, because they held club contests for the table topics and
okay.
humorous speech contests.
Right.
I was pretty sure startup speakers did not. But you can still watch the finals at the Fall Fusion event, which occurs on.
October
20?
19.
19, yeah. 19.
Oh, damn! I haven't synced yet.
And on that day we do have the Halloween custom contest. So we can ask our team member Hannah to participate. Maybe she would love that, and then we come to support her. It's been a while since this club participate in the local area activities, whereas in the district level we have many activities, and one of those is the humorous contest. If it's not coming, you can keep that in mind, and then fine tune and make the speech like even more practice so that you can participate in the area level. And I occasionally do that.
Well, not this year, but that was an excellent speech for humorous speech. So.
Yeah. The next term.
Right.
You definitely can be a very good contestant.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, our next set of speeches is going to be in the spring. It's going to be, as I understand it, the International Speech Contest and a Tall Tales Contest.
Okay. Yeah. So we will get the exact date, and then let Seking know. So this is one time that you come back, but you can come back more in the following weeks, right? Because now, for yourself.
For your schedule, right?
For your
Yeah,
schedule.
I can come back like sometime.
Okay. Thank you. Do we have any announcement? No. Yeah. Besides the Fall Fusion, I would give the information for our club members to participate in the Fall Fusion.
Right. October 19th starts at 8:30. It's in Mountain View. You can sign up on the d101tm.org website.
Right. Okay. Thank you, Dan. All right. So we now having the winners' names already, and drum please for the best table topic comes to. The best evaluator comes to Harun. Congratulations, Harun. Wonderful.
Stand it. Want to take a picture?
And last but not least, the best speaker comes to Seking. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yay.
In 3, 2, 1. Okay. Done.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry, I need to run now. My baby is waiting
Sure.
for me.
Bye bye,
Sure.
Seking.
Thanks a
Thanks a
Say
lot.
hi
Thanks
to
a lot for having me.
Yeah.
her name is Devi, right?
Devi.
Devi.
Say hi to
Thank
her.
you.
Bye.
Alright, so before we leave this room, please fill out the role for next week. We need the Toastmaster.
And by default.
Oh,
Who can
I
be-
was planning to be speaker.
I
Okay.
can be Toastmaster again.
Yeah, I know.
Okay.
Okay, so you can
Toastmaster.
Toastmaster.
Next week. No, it's not. Okay.
We have some members that not coming this week. Maybe they can come back next week. Raz, Hannah.
So can you put down me for speaker number 1?
Yeah.
And you're going to be speaker number 2, right, Jennifer?
Mm.
So we got slot for one more. And does anybody want to do some evaluations?
Jose.
I'll be evaluator one. Evaluator one. Yeah. Okay.
Well, maybe, I'm sorry, I didn't hear.
Table
what-
topics.
Table
Right.
topics.
Uh,
Excellent. Okay, cool.
Yeah, so Jose, you can please note it down.
Could I maybe do a speaker role if I sign up? for it?
Sure. If you sign up today, which I
You're-
somehow I
table topics, right?
intuitively bring the membership form in my bag so you can fill it up, and then you can give the icebreaker next week. Yeah.
Yeah.
Finally. Yeah. And evaluator number 3, who would evaluate Ash next week? Tony. Okay.
Well, do we have 3 evaluators or we only have 2?
Who's
Oh yeah, just
evaluated
2. So Jose 1, and who evaluating me? So we can find out. Yeah,
Okay, yeah,
why
why
me? And then Tony evaluating Ash. The first speaker is Harun, second is myself, third one is Ash. Table topic master is also
Wan Ming.
Wan Ming. And yeah, some other roles will fill up accordingly. Latest on Saturday, like Georgie said.
Okay, who is the first speaker again? Sorry.
Harun.
Harun, sorry.
Jennifer, let me grab it 'cause I'm gonna have to go out.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah.
Let me get it back to you.
And okay. And who's evaluator one?
Jose?
Okay.
Yeah, I'll be evaluator one.
Okay.
And then Wai Ming and
Can I
then
give
Tony.
it to you?
Pardon me?
The
Okay.
evaluator,
Wan Ming and Tony.
Wai Ming and then Tony.
Yeah,
Alright.
number 3.